Why shouldn't you buy this, the Sigma 24-70 Mark II for Sony E-mount over the Sony 24-70 G Master Mark II? It's definitely not the price. The Sigma is $1,199. Sony, on the other hand, is $22.98, which makes it nearly half the cost. Now, you shouldn't buy this because it does potentially like to suck in dust when you zoom, would be something I'd say if you were looking at buying one of the first batches of the original Sigma 24-70. But Gerald said that
Sigma told me that the new Mark II doesn't have any of those issues.
Now, it could be image quality, but both are still great. Neither are bad by any means. If we take sharpness, for an example, the differences that we're really seeing here are only noticeable when you get in close and pixel peep, especially towards the edges. Now, does that make a difference in the real world? In most cases, most scenarios, unlikely. But if you're one of those people that needs the most clean, clinical looking images that you can possibly get out of anything that's out there, the best of the best, you're going to have to pay for it. You shouldn't buy the Sigma because the Sony is way better built in terms of build quality. Well, that's not true either. This is a premium lens. It's part of their Art series. It feels like a fantastic piece of glass in your hand. It's got a solid weight to it. It doesn't feel like it is a substandard budget lens in any means. Although it's a lot less money, it still feels like a very premium lens. The same with thinking that you should buy the Sony over the Sigma because the Sony is parfocal. What does that mean? Well, it means if you're manually focused at 24 and you zoom into 70, it's still going to be in focus. But here's the thing, neither are parfocal. Here's a potential one. Both the Sigma and the Sony don't have any form of stabilization built into the lens, but both will work with active stabilization, which does apply a little crop when you film. And here's the thing with that. Sigma lenses, Tamron lenses, any third-party lens will never perform as well with active stabilization compared to a Sony lens. It's just the way it works. There's something that connects and just works better with Sony lenses on Sony bodies, and the active stabilization is a little bit better. I've done a whole video covering this topic, which you can watch up here, which details at different focal lengths, that kind of thing. But that's probably something you should check out because it is potentially an issue with this versus the Sony. Here's a quick example for you at 70mm. Just to see a little bit of intentional movement there with active stabilization turned on. This is with the Sigma. Now let's swap out to the Sony and try and replicate the same shot with the same movement. Active stabilization is on. Let's try and mimic that movement a little bit. So you can see in the top-down angle there that it's probably, or that it is moving a little bit. And are you able to tell the difference? And while it is fun to make videos, to provide you information to help you make buying decisions, if you want to support the channel in some way, you can click the subscribe button down below. Believe it or not, that actually does help. Should you not buy the Sigma because of its autofocus? Well, it's fantastic. This is it right here we're shooting with on the A7R5, the fastest possible settings. Eye autofocus is turned on. This has Sigma's new linear focus motor in it, so it's even faster than the original was. It works just great. I don't even need to show you the Sony's autofocus because that works great as well. If you want to see it, you can watch this video up here. Now, focus breathing is a reason to buy the Sony and not the Sigma, even though, as Gerald says,
out of the box, they're all the same.
What we mean here is that they both suffer from focus breathing issues, just straight out of the box with no other potential corrections applied. But with the Sony lens and a newer Sony body, you can apply focus breathing compensation, and it all but eliminates the focus breathing from the Sony lens. You can't do that with the Sigma because it's third party. You probably never will be able to. How bad is it? I mean, it's not that bad at all, really, but this is an example for you. Look at the edges of the frame. You can see a little bit of movement there. That is essentially what focus breathing is. With the Sony, if you turn on focus breathing compensation, that is all but eliminated. Don't be thinking as well that you shouldn't buy the Sigma because the Sony weighs less. The Sony does weigh less, but it's 695 grams for the Sony and 735 grams for the Sigma, which is the equivalent of 4 AAA batteries. It's not really that much, is it? Another reason to not buy the Sigma, the lens features. Apart from that's not really true anymore. It was with the first generation Sigma, but these two now have a lot more in common. The new 24-70 now has an aperture ring on it, much like the Sony 24 G Master Mark II does. As well as having an aperture ring, you can turn it to A, you can lock it so it doesn't come out of that A, and then you can control the aperture in camera if you prefer to do it that way. Or if you're like me and you like to actually have that tactile control on the lens itself, you can have it declicked, or you can change it to clicky. And now you'll get the benefits of having a clicky aperture on there. You have your manual focus, autofocus switch, much like you do on the Sony 24-70 G Master, zoom ring, focus ring, all the other things you'd expect, as well as a second custom button now. So you've got two on there, opposed to the one that was on the first version of this. There is one major design difference, which shouldn't be a deal breaker for you, but it could be, I guess, in that the Sony has one extra switch on it, and it is this one right here. It's the smooth or tight switch, which basically allows you to have the zoom control completely customizable to how you like it, either loose, which is smooth, or if you change it to tight, it's now a lot firmer. The Sigma doesn't have that. Is that a deal breaker? You have to be the decision holder of that one. It shouldn't be. But to be totally honest with you, there is probably more to suggest that this is a good buy and is something you should buy compared to the 24-70 GM Mark II, because it has most of what that lens has and can do at half the price. If there are some things we discussed in this video which are obviously issues for you, concerns with this, then spend double. There's links to both down below.